What's up, guys? So I'm just going to be honest with you. We are doing Montana, and in this video I believe one of their players disconnects halfway through, which allows us to kind of push and just destroy them. But it's still a good demonstration of his abilities and what he can do. So let's talk about Montana. Out of the starting characters, he's definitely the tanky kind of controller initiator. That's what it says on his page. To talk about his general statistics and his weapon, he uses a big minigun. There's no ammo, but instead he has a heat gauge. As he fires longer, he does more damage. Now at first, it'll only be a little bit, but then as he starts to heat up, he'll start to do almost 50% more damage with each shot. Now, the problem is that when he's at full heat, he can't fire without additional skills. So heat management, instead of having to reload, your heat management is kind of how you control him. So you really want to make sure to keep an eye on that and not to overheat in critical parts of the battle, or you're going to get destroyed. So left-clicking fires, right-clicking causes you just to spin up and prepare. It's just like the heavy from TF2. So his first skill, lumberjack dash, just sends him forward, and if he collides with anything, he'll do some damage, pretty hefty amount of damage, and then he'll knock them backwards. And then if they come in contact with anything while they're being knocked backwards, they're stunned for a second. His second ability, Hailstorm, loads his gun with special ice bullets that cause less heat while he fires them. They slow enemies that are hit, and they reduce any damage that he takes by 30%. So it's a really, really powerful skill. And the way how you use your Hailstorm really kind of determines how it works. So for our very first skill, we're going to take the Weatherman, and that's because his accuracy is not that great. But with Weatherman, at least when we're using Hailstorm bullets, we're in a much better position to be able to make an impact. And as you can see, he's got a lot of health, but he does not have the greatest damage potential. So a lot of mistakes that I see people make when they're playing this guy brand new is that they'll just run in there with his lumberjack dash and just start trying to mess stuff up, but the whole enemy team will quickly turn on them. So what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to stay safe and stay not too far out. I'm in a position where I can do damage, but I'm in a position where if I need to run away, I can. Right there, they tried to pull me in, but I got stuck in the... because of my great size, I got stuck in the door. And that's another thing about him, is that because of his huge frame, he actually reacts with the environment differently than other players. They can see you and shoot you before you can see them a lot of times. But at the same time, you can be kind of restricted in the pathways you can take, and you literally just get stuck in walls. It doesn't happen that often. Another thing that's really important to note is that this character, well, the build that I'm using here is a much more solo-oriented character build for just kind of doing stuff on your own. This character really, really benefits from having team synergy, having people help him out. As you can see, the Miko is kind of sticking next to me and being a really, really good sidekick and keeping me topped off, and that actually lets me frontline a lot more. If he weren't there helping me out, then my capacity would be really, really limited. But in general, when you push on people, you want to get as close as possible, and then you want to open up with your Hailstorm to slow them down, and then you usually... So the thing is, unless they're low, you usually won't kill them, but you create an opportunity for your team to move in and kill them. And that's what Montana is all about, and that's why he's the initiator. So we hit level 2, and then we take the good old 1-2 as our level 2 mutation. And what that does is it changes the way how the lumberjack dash works. Jeez. So instead of knocking people back and then stunning them if they hit something, no matter where they are, as long as they're close by Montana when he ends the dash, he's going to knock them straight up in the air. So it's an easier form of CC, it's easier to get off, and you don't have to worry so much. See? So then they just go straight up. And it hits multiple targets too, which is a big advantage. Now, the big thing about him is just being aware of your teammates, being aware of your positioning. And as you can see, I'm just sticking to cover. I'm not trying to... Whenever I feel like I'm in a position where, because of my limited mobility, I can't get in and get out as quickly as other characters. So anytime I feel threatened, I'm backing up and trying to play safe, trying not to overextend. But at the same time, you have to be the front line of your team, because you're just like this big wall of a man with a tiny little head, and you really got to make sure that you're getting the most out of what you can do. Now, the crowd control effect that you get is not limited to players. As you saw there, I charged in, and I knocked the mercenaries down, which was an opportunity for my team to finish them off. So that will come in play more when we're actually hunting the mercenaries and trying to recruit them later. And he's actually a pretty decent hunter when it comes to taking out the mercenary camps. But here, we're just sticking by our team, just trying not to overextend, because that turret, watch, I jump in here to cover for the Miko, and then the turret just blows up my shields, and then my health just starts degenerating, and we get out of there. I'm not sure why he was chasing like that in the first place, and it ends up costing his life. And then because of that, our other player actually dies too, so then we lose this position, and we have to retreat. Which is unfortunate, because this is all about taking and holding territory, I think more so than the other maps. And because of that, we lost a significant amount, and we just have to retreat. And now, the good thing about Montana is you can use his dash not only to get in, but to get away. He's got really limited mobility, he's actually kind of slow, and like I said, because of his big frame, he gets stuck in things all the time. So, what you can do, though, is if you jump and then you dash until you make contact with the ground, your speed will actually continue to carry through. I don't know if I demonstrated in this video, but like if you jump off a ledge and then you dash until you make contact with the ground, you'll keep the speed of the dash. And it's a really good way to get out of the gate, get some extra speed, and just keep moving. And as you can see here, we could have taken these guys without Miko's help, but him being there just makes it that much easier. And it's not so much that we're doing a lot of damage or we're controlling them a lot, but we're just so tanky they can't kill us before we kill them. And so we just take the mercenary camps, as always. And like, I don't even care about the damage that they're throwing at me, because I feel like I just, as long as I got that Miko there, they can do very, very little. But now, I see an opportunity, I run in there, and I just start to demolish them. And these accelerators that I'm picking up are very, very important for this map. They speed up your minions, they get you in faster, and they get your guys pushing the lane, which is super important for just keeping the wave going, keeping the pressure on, because you don't want that shield on the sentry to drop. Now, to take a moment to explain my level 3 and level 4, because I missed my level 3. For level 3, we take Pumped Up. It just simply increases our health and makes us tankier, and we can take more damage, which is always nice. And then for our number 4, so this is actually a big deal. Depending on which one you pick, you're kind of defining how your Montana build is. The cooler actually allows you to, it lets you get more shots out while your minigun Hailstorm is active. So then, before you take this talent, you generate reduced heat. With this talent, you actually get rid of heat. So, what the net goal of this is, this lets you fire longer, faster, and heat conservation becomes less of an issue. Now, if you pick the other one, Firestorm, it does the opposite. It removes the slow effect, but it gives all your bullets a damage over time component that causes a lot more damage, but a lot more heat. And this really defines the build. If you want to go for quick damage, you take the Firestorm. But if you want to go for a more long, drawn-out, controlling kind of build, you want to build around those ice bullets. And I personally believe, because of the big heat component that comes with the Firestorm, you're better off focused on the ice shot, because later on we can take a talent that'll increase the slow that our bullets have, and the more they're slowed, the more our friendly team can capitalize on that and just erase them. So you can see here, the slow, even though Isaac's got his shield up, our slow is actually locking him down and keeping him from really maneuvering anywhere where he needs to be. And we're just being the front line for our team right now. Just moving forward and just trying to keep up the pace, just trying to create a wall that is between us and the enemy so our teammates can do what our teammates can do. Now, saying that, we do have respectable damage, and so if we are feeling like we got our team support and we're pretty backed up, we can just rush in right there and just finish off wounded targets without having to worry too much. But, like I said, because of his limited mobility, getting out is a different story than getting in. But here, we killed the first sentry, so I'm just grabbing their buildables to make sure we get a more solid foothold. And now we're just waiting for things to deploy up. Just trying to take these minions. Let's talk about the level 5. I keep missing. So for our level 5, I already talked about, we're going to take Cold-Blooded. And there's two options, Hot-Blooded and Cold-Blooded. Cold-Blooded gives you more health regeneration when you're low health. I mean, not low health, low heat. And Hot-Blooded gives you more regeneration when you're high heat. And because of the ice bullets that we're taking, and because we're working with low heat, we're going to be, more often than not, we're going to want to be at low heat anyway, because that means we're going to be firing. So this not only gives us more in general overall, but as we're traveling the map, we're not going to be firing our gun. And so that's going to give us more passive regeneration in between while we're traveling between places. And it's just more reliable. You might want to take hot-blooded if you're going for a more fire build, or you're going for a burstier build where you're not necessarily looking for the long term, but any help that you can get is just help that will help you out surviving the burst. Now here, they actually buy a big bot and they manage to push us back a little bit, but we just take cover behind our minions and we just blow them up from a distance. Buying the accelerator, that's kind of like the cap in the stone. I think at this point, this is where one of their teammates have disconnected, so you'll really start to see that they're having trouble. They have what? Shane, they have an Isaac, they have a Thorn, they have... I don't know, but I definitely... This is the point where things kind of get really definitively in our favor. So right now, the thing about Montana that I want to talk about is that he is really... You can build him for a very strong team play build. Like, you can define him to be much more controlling than I do here. I kind of go middle ground between controlling survivability and damage. And you could build him to be just like a straight-up initiator, that his whole job is just to rush in and knock stuff down and create opportunities for your team. You could build him to be completely damaged. And so this is a character that I feel like, while it was okay for solo play, I feel like there are other characters that excel a little better. So for our level 6 there, we picked up Swole Shield. Again, it's the same as Pumped Up, which gave us more health at the level 3. Swole Shield just gives us more survivability. It lets us take more damage and survive exchanges longer, better. And here what I'm doing is I've actually snuck behind their line and I'm blowing up their sentries, which not a lot. I'm surprised because it doesn't happen that often on this map, but it's a really, really effective strategy until the turret turns on you like that. Other characters can do it better, but again, because of Montana's giant hulking frame, the sentry can actually see him and fire at him. And that's basically this game in a nutshell. The only other significant thing that's going to happen is they're going to rush over. They see our post, me and the Miko, and they're going to rush us and try to take us down. And then that just shows the talents that we picked are really going to show how survivable we are and how much damage we can take. I'm not quite sure what that Auroch and Shane was doing, but they just got demolished. And then versus this Isaac, you can see how few of our bullets are hitting, but then once we hit our frost bullets, we just start to get a lot more accurate and we can trade a lot more. And then, like I said, he's just a really team-oriented character, see? Like, I wouldn't be able to do nearly any of this without the help that the Miko's giving me. Of course, saying that, I kind of... Oh, that stomp is awesome. So the way how his ultimate works, let's just talk about that real quick while we kill this invisible person trying to kill our healer. I think they succeed, but we actually managed to outlast them, and it's pretty close, but that's okay. Because we're Montana, and Montana rocks. But just to describe his ultimate that I used there, what it does, he puts his foot down, he stomps, and then he sends the enemies up the same way that our Lumberjack Dash does with the old one too. It does a lot more damage though, and at the end of it, we actually get a big damage reduction that lasts for a couple of seconds. So it's a good follow-up to the Lumberjack Dash, because it lets you Lumberjack Dash in, and then ultimate, and then you're done. So just to talk about that build, we only got to level 6. So our level 7, we take Icebreaker for the increased. We take Ice Age for the longer Hailstorm. We take Too Big to Fail for more Lumberjack Dashes. We take Bullet Buff at 9 for more slow, and then we take Instant Payback at the end. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a fantastic day.